Welcome, Woven Ones. This is Generations Woven, where the voices of three generations blend into one tapestry of truth, laughter, love, and life. Today, we're talking about breaking generational patterns.
Shining like the sun.
So, what's one thing your mom, grandma, or the women before you believed that you're choosing to see differently? Um, I know, Judy, I'm sure you've got some great stories about your family and history and things that are very different from, patterns at my age that I've experienced. So what's
Yeah.
something that you could share?
Well, I think I'll talk about my parents being the age they were when I was born. They were in their mid-40s, and, I don't think I was planned, but their ideas were I mean, let's face it, my parents would be 114 now. I mean,
Mhm.
that's hard to even fathom, isn't
Mm.
it? So their ideas about divorce or anything like that were, uh, not even they thought when you got married that you should stay in the marriage no matter what,
Mm.
and, that was a tough one because I treasured my parents, I was daddy's little girl, I was on the pedestal, and the last thing I wanted to do was disappoint them,
Mm.
and so as time went on and I realized in the relationship, it just was not working. It wasn't something that I knew that I wanted to go through the next 50 years. Um, that's a tough one because you don't wanna disappoint those that you love the most, and to them, it was very important to stay married no matter what you went through. So I think there comes a time when you have to look at what's good for you if you have children, what's good for them, and look at the whole picture, um, and make some healthy choices. Because sometimes I know a lot of women that I've talked to in the past have been in dysfunctional relationships. They stayed in abusive relationships because it was familiar, not that it was
Mhm.
good
Mhm.
for them, but
Yeah.
they kept going back and back for another hit of abuse, and it's crazy that sometimes you just have to do what's best for you, and, that doesn't always agree with the parents or grandparents or, your older family members because for them, it's a little bit different story how they were raised.
So how did that guilt or fear like creep up when you knew that you had to get a divorce? And like what were your parents' reactions?
Disappointed. They didn't wanna talk about it. It was like,
Oh,
you did that thing that, you know, just shake the head kinda thing. It eventually went away. They loved me. I knew
yeah.
that, and they wanted to see me happy, but that's tough. The last people you wanna hurt is the ones you love,
Mhm.
and, so generational patterns are sometimes very difficult to change or to go up against.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
with that, when you said they didn't wanna talk about it, I feel like that's something, and not for you women, we talk, but something that I've noticed in my family is there's a lot of not talking about things, right? There's a lot of things that are kept behind closed doors. We don't
Well, if
talk
you don't
about it.
talk about it, it don't exist.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a thing with health, right? Like, we recently, went on a big camping trip with our family. I think there was 19 of us.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
Yeah, and it was great, and so one of the conversations we brought up as the cousins was, "What is our family health history?" Like, we're all aging, and we're like, "Does anyone have anything?" Like, we're
She's
all
aging.
well, I am aging, okay?
Okay.
I'm not a young buck anymore. But one of the conversations was about, like, how quiet everyone is, like, no one talks about the things, and I think that's something with the generations too that I've tried to open up with my children more and tell them the things that I'm learning, right? I'm
Mm,
trying to be more open with them and, like, I never talked about finances growing up. Like, it was just a thing. Like, you
mhm,
didn't ask how much money your parents made.
mm.
And so, I grew up with that. So when my kids were young and they would say, "What do you make?" I'm like, "Oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter."
That's none of your
Eh,
business.
Yeah.
Now it's like, here's the facts. Like, here's like now that I'm learning things, I'm not an expert, but I'm like, as I learn, like, oh, they need to know these things because why should they grow up like I did, completely blind in some aspects?
Mhm,
And we need to start talking. So I think that's one of the generational patterns that I'm trying to break is the communication. Is now that
Mm,
I know things or I'm learning things, I want to share and be
right.
more open with that with my
mhm.
children.
I like that. So my parents will be 90 next year. Um, and we have an amazing relationship. But I do remember my mom saying they're part of this silent generation.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there are things that they don't talk about. Um, but then God gave them a child like me who likes to talk about stuff. So I'm sure now that I look back, I'm sure it wasn't always easy. But I remember my mom always said to us when people ask very uncomfortable personal questions that you can actually say and smile, "Why would you wanna know?" And then not answer them. Now, I would answer them.
I
I'm
bet you would.
I'm an open book, so it doesn't matter to me. Um, but it's interesting that that was a generation that didn't discuss certain things. Certain things were just private, and you did not talk about it. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen in my life how not talking about stuff caused, a lot of pain, and, I have a daughter and, her dad, that's not their thing. And I don't know if it's, sometimes we protect ourselves. I'm sure it is a little bit of that. But I think if we just know if you put yourself in a position where you're vulnerable and open, and maybe that's where trust comes in, um, you just connect on a different level. So I really think that that connection about speaking your truth in love and asking good questions is so healthy for any relationship. But I can see that with my parents.
Mhm.
I think my dad's a little bit more, I'm more like him, we talk about stuff. Whereas my mom's a little more private, just a little bit.
Well, I think that's where growth comes from too, that
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
vulnerable,
Right.
communicating, and then realizing that you can do those hard things, like talk about your
Yes.
feelings.
Right.
Like, it's
And
very hard, but
but you know what? Even love. I remember as a child, my dad didn't used to say that he would, that he loves us. Now he does, and he makes a point that
mm,
every time when we talk, he would say that. And we have a phone call every Sunday, and my dad asks questions, any questions, things like IQ questions about sports and um, just any information from the 2 different countries, and we're very competitive, so, we each have to do
You
really
might
well.
share that
yeah,
they live in
I was gonna say
Um,
from what 2 different countries?
oh, from, well, actually, all 3 countries, from Australia, from the United States, and South Africa, where I grew up. And, it's literally it's art, it's music, it's sports, it's Roman numeral letters, it's math, they were both teachers. So, and my dad has this survey thing where he just now has over 200,000 questions. And he's gonna leave that
I love
as a
it.
legacy for us.
How sweet.
And it's amazing. And I think it's a way of opening a door to communication.
Mhm.
Um, one thing I have to say, and it's not speaking about women, but my dad always used to say, "You are the architect of your life."
Mm.
And I have embraced that. So if something is not working for you, you're the architect of your life. And, we've been given free will, so we can change that. And it comes with responsibility.
Yep.
But I do want the life that that can honor them too. So yeah, I like you are the architect of your own life. The other gift, and it's not about a pattern that I want to break, but it took me a long time to give myself grace, learning from my mom, who actually would say to me, Nerina, this is a season. It's just a season. And now I feel like I can, if I'm in a situation that's not good, I know it's going to get better because it's just a season that I'm in right now.
Doesn't last forever.
Yeah, exactly. So that has given me a lot of peace that is now, and I need to deal with the now. And then I will evolve, and there will be some good stuff that comes out of it. Um, yeah. So the other thing, we talk about money, and I could see like my dad's dad, my paternal grandfather. They grew up in the Depression, really tough times. And I remember I
Mhm.
would say to my dad a few times, like, there's this just this scarcity mentality that I don't like. And my parents were frugal, but they were so generous with food. Like, you come over, you will have more than enough anything. And I've always said, I like that aspect of it. And, of course, you need to be responsible with your money and make plans. And my dad will ask us many times, like, do you have a good 401 plan? Or do you have a good pension? And you have good medical, and that's just them.
Mhm.
But, and you do, you have to be responsible.
Yeah.
But I have found that the more generous you are, the more you get.
Oh, yeah.
So that's not something I'm going to change. Um,
Mhm.
I like to give because I have been given so, so much. So if I can help somebody, why would I not do that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
And
uh,
that's a great thing to take from them. Is that something they did?
definitely.
Yeah, and
Definitely. We were
that's a
talking.
great thing to keep, right? We don't need to
Yeah,
break that or, change that pattern, but yeah,
sure.
that's a great pattern
Sure.
to keep,
Right.
um, that we've learned and passed down.
I'm
Yeah.
sort of laughing to myself. We're talking about patterns. My mother was the kind that she was the cook,
Yeah.
and you didn't get in the kitchen when she was cooking.
Oh.
But I never learned how to cook. I never
Oh
learned.
gosh.
I was good at doing dishes and cleaning up the kitchen, but I had to chuckle when we were talking about patterns because when my children came along, that was one thing I wanted to change because I had to learn as an
Mm,
adult
mm.
how to cook. And so I would teach my children,
That's
and my
good.
boys can cook as,
Oh,
pretty good.
really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well done.
Oh, he hasn't shown you yet.
I guess I'm missing out since I'm the cook in the
Uh-huh.
house.
There you go.
No,
But
this is
it's just patterns
yeah,
that we go
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's great. I I think what's important is to know that we can change patterns, to know that we can keep the patterns
Yeah.
and, kind of working through that, right? As we become adults and we're taking care of our own children, we have our own lives. Like, yes, we love and respect our parents
Mhm.
and don't want to upset them, but sometimes it's good change.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And with that, I think it's just important to honor where you came from,
Yes.
but don't be afraid to rewrite the story. Growth is the greatest gift you can pass on. And until
There's
next
an
time, God
invisible
bless.
thread that ties us all.